Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Data Talks with Loren. This is a show we talk about emerging trends in the data world to enable people to stay informed. Today, I will be taking you through the episode, which is in regards to tips that you may use when coming up with questions for a business requirements gathering session. So the previous episode was focused on the stages of business requirements gathering, and now these ones are tips that will help you when coming up with the questionnaire. Remember, we mentioned that the questions are an important part of this session, so you need thorough preparation for this. Karibuni sana. So tip number 1, have the end in mind. Remember, this is a data project, so you as the business analyst, as the data analyst, as the project manager, you need to be in sync with what the business users are giving you as information during requirements gathering. So for example, if someone wants to see anything to do with geospatial data, you need to have an end in mind in terms of having a map probably coming into play in terms of showing the number of customer distribution across the country, for instance, right? Then in terms of maybe profitability, if there are a retail store, so you want to see the profitability across the country or which branches are making loss as a retail store. So that will be shown in a map in terms of a bubble or in terms of a color. So green might mean profit, red might mean loss, right? So in the map, by just looking at this, you can see the green bubbles being bigger in certain regions and a tiny small bubble showing that yes, they're making profit, but it's not much as what is being made maybe in Nairobi. Then for the loss, you can easily tell Mombasa is probably making a loss. So geospatial map. So have the end in mind as they're giving you these requirements. If they're thinking of comparison, you want to think of bar graphs. If they're thinking of time series, you want to think of a trend line, for example. So as they're telling you this information, I want to see a data report that will be showing me, a comparison of product A, B, and C across the different branches that we have, or I want to see over time historical data and trend and forecast even this kind of profits that we'll make in the next year or so. So have the end in mind, okay? Tip number 2, have a sequential way in which you put down these questions and in which you ask. So the first set of questions set the tone for the next set of questions. So for instance, I might start by asking you, what do you want to see in your dashboard? Then you tell me the kind of report that you would like to see in this dashboard. Then under that report, for example, any example, I can say in terms of sales. So I want to see a sales analytics dashboard. So under this dashboard, what kind of key performance indicators do you want to see? Then you tell me, I want to see the amount of sales that were made. I want to see the count of customers for these sales that relate to these sales. So it could be I've made 50,000 shillings and I've had 5 customers who contributed to this kind of profit. Then in terms of filters, what kind of filters do you want to see in this sales analytics dashboard? Then I will tell you, I want to see by year, I want to see by month, I want to see by branch, and I also want to see maybe by location, because the branches might be in Nairobi. We have 10 branches. The location could be Nairobi, so you select a location Nairobi, and the branches could be that I have one in town, I have one in Kiambu, I have one in whatever county you are from. So those are already like questions that come from the initial question of sales analytics dashboard. Then you could have in terms of what kind of visuals now do you want to see in this dashboard. Then they give you the kind of visuals that they want to see, which will benefit them when they're making decisions in regards to their sales. So it could be that someone wants to make a decision of what kind of branch they need to open next, right? So based on that, it will guide you backwards in terms of now getting answers to the visuals that will be displayed in this dashboard. So again, have a sequential way of asking the questions as a BA so that now it sets the tone for the rest of the questions that follow. So the next tip is to do with question formulation and wording. The questions that you're asking should be simple, should be easily understood, and should convey one thought at a time so that the user is not lost in answering 5 questions in one question. So the questions you're asking should be very concrete and should convey to the respondent's way of thinking, basically. So tip number 4, avoid the use of dichotomous questions. By this I mean avoid the use of yes or no questions, okay? Such that you are trying to invite a storyline behind the thought process of the business user, as opposed to just, do you have a database? Yes. Do you have it on cloud? No. So that won't take the storyline anywhere, and you won't get sufficient information from this business user. So ask in a way that will either invite a conversation around it, or will lead to the next set of questions, like in form of a hierarchy rather. So in terms of like, if you have a database, where is it? Is it on premise? Is it on cloud? If it's on cloud, which vendor are you using? If it's on premise, what kind of security measures are involved? What kind of access controls do you have? And such questions will now help you to answer and also to determine how the architecture will look like and how they will be published or how the data will be accessed. It will just answer so many questions, right? So always avoid the use of yes or no questions, because the answers to that won't really lead the conversation anywhere. And then tip number 5, know your audience. Remember what I was talking about in the previous video about thinking through when you are having these sessions. So know your audience in that the questions that you're asking these different audiences should be different. Like for instance, a business user won't know about the data infrastructure. ICT will be able to answer you that, right? CEO won't even know like how many reports these business users want. Some will know because maybe some are heavily involved in terms of these projects, but some basically just want results. They know they have set a budget for this data project and all they expect is outputs, right? So when you're dealing with the executives, when you're dealing with the C-suite, ask questions in regards to overall expectation as a business, right? Then when you're dealing with business users, they're the expertise. Someone in finance is an expert in that industry. They're an accountant, they will understand that better. Someone in HR won't really understand accounting, but they'll tell you all you need to know about the HR analytics or what they expect of HR reports. Someone in marketing will also have their own expertise. So know your audience, and then ask them the questions accordingly. Then ICT will give you information on data access, will give you information on data flow, data infrastructure, what kind of setup they will want to see, or if they don't know, you will now advise them further based on the information that they've given you, right? You'll even maybe make their costs cut down, because now you're advising them either to be better as a business or even to save costs, because some people primarily have data projects just to save costs. So know your audience, basically. That has been it, ladies and gentlemen. See you on the next episode. But this series is called Loren Talks because I'm basically alone, taking you through some of the things I've learned over time. And I hope it helps you when you're carrying out your data projects. And as a PM, I hope this helps you translate these kind of conversations into now your actual work, and hopefully you get a successful project. Even a BA, actually these bits are for BA, but I've doubled up as both in my previous projects. That's why I'm just sharing what I know. But anyway, see you in the next episode. Have a good week. Bye.